So my 27 male, stepmom, 53 female, has been in my life since I was a baby. My mom dropped out of my life when I was 3 months old, and I've never met her. My dad, 51 male, started a business when I was 10. My stepmom would take care of me and my sibling when we got home from school, and then worked 6 to 8 hours a day for my dad's business. I would remember her going out to distribute marketing materials, driving out with him to trade shows, doing his accounting into the early hours of the morning, and filling in the blanks for employees who had either quit or were absent in some way. Basically, she worked close to full time, and she would only take $1 a year because she wanted my dad to put her would-be salary back into the business. When his business started turning a large profit around, when I was a teen, she worked more part-time, but still never took a salary. But I feel like what she added emotionally to my siblings and I was worth more than she could have been paid in a full-time skilled job, because my dad was distant and a difficult person. However, 2 years ago, they suddenly split up. My dad moved out, but then my stepmom still worked part-time for free, but was mostly staying at home. But my dad, we all thought, was also close to being semi-retired. At the end of their divorce, my stepmom got 50% of my dad's business. My dad is absolutely furious. He called the system unfair, said that this was a tax on his hard work that deters further innovation from him, and that my stepmom didn't build his business. She merely stepped back and allowed him to do so. Every time he comes over to my house or comes to events for any of his 3 kids, he's angry. His greatest hits of complaints include, "Your stepmom took herself out of the workforce, and that's her fault. What has she ever done to get free money?" The final straw was when yesterday, he complains that his girlfriend, 25 female, yells at him every day over the fact that my stepmom is basically a business partner now, and that if, quote, "I was able to work 70 hours a week 16 years ago, she should be able to do the same at Walmart for the next 20 years. I finally snapped and said that until he can bite his tongue about my stepmom, I didn't want him coming over anymore. I also told him that in my opinion, my stepmom deserves every penny she's getting, and if I were the judge, I would have given her all that and more. Am I the idiot for being fed up? Not the idiot at all. I'm glad you stood up for your stepmom and that she's a big part of your life. Dad is the type to use the sweat off your stepmom's back to ease his wheels. She built it for him and deserves it. Guys like this always spew the system is rigged, except you never heard the backstory. He will continue to dog her out because men like this are users and hate when the law upholds the rights of the women in their lives. Not the idiot. This lady not only looked after his children as a mother, but also worked at the company for essentially free. This is one of those times I'm glad the courts weighed so heavily in her favor against the entitled arrogance of your father. Kudos for having a spine and sticking up for her. They didn't even weigh heavily in my opinion. You pay someone $1 a year for full-time work for over a decade? To me, that's half your business worthy. You have your spouse not only work, but also take care of your previous and current kids? Again, half your business. You do all that and spout crap? Solidifies it to me. Screw that guy. Not the idiot. Your entire post was explained right here. His girlfriend, 25 female. He and stepmom built up the business, and he got himself a trophy wife. And now he's mad that he couldn't just leave the stepmom high and dry. Real class act. She not only contributed to the business, but she also stayed home and raised his kids while he was working, which was presumably a joint decision. I'm sick of men thinking that women are the automatic parent. She deserves every cent. Also, seriously side-eyeing the fact that your dad's girlfriend is less than half his age and younger than one of his kids. She most definitely doesn't get a vote on whether your stepmom should get part of the business. I'm not saying she's a gold digger, but she sounds like an immature dummy who believes every word he says. Stick to your guns and good job for standing up for what's right. I am a medical student. My girlfriend Megan and I go to the same university, though she's studying something else. I study with a girl called Liz, who was top of our year. I can't even describe how talented she is. Staff call her the brightest student they've ever taught, and they think she's someone who will go on to change the world. While I study with Liz because she's smart, I don't really like her as a person. I think she's snobby, spoiled, and childish. Anyway, so I was having a night with Megan, watching some movies when my phone rang. It was Liz. She said she'd been kicked out of a club and it would be a long wait for an Uber. It was really wet and cold, so she asked if I could come and take her home. Me and Megan agreed that we couldn't just leave her out there, so we drove out and picked her up. We took her back to our place so she could get cleaned up and sober up. Liz's dressing was soaking wet. Megan got her some clean clothes, but when she did, Liz started complaining that she didn't want to wear something ugly and cheap. Megan said okay and took the clothes back. This made Liz cry about how cold and wet her dress was, and she begged me to make Megan change her mind. While Liz shouldn't have made the comments about Megan's clothes, I just couldn't leave her in the soaked dress. I begged Megan to change her mind and give Liz the clothes, which she did eventually. In the morning, once Liz had sobered up and gone home, Megan went mad at me for siding with Liz. I don't think that's true at all. Liz was soaking wet and freezing cold. She needed a change of clothes. Yes, she shouldn't have complained, but it doesn't change the fact that she had to have a change of clothes. So, am I the idiot here? I'm with Megan here. She went above and beyond to help Liz, came with you to get her, agreed to keep Liz at your place, and offered her clean clothes, and Liz threw it back in her face? This could have been a great teaching experience for Liz. Also, if you took her back to our place, then why couldn't you lend her clothes? A big hoodie or something would work in a pinch. Liz is the general idiot, but to your specific question, you are the idiot. You are the idiot. Your friend was rude whilst your girlfriend was being polite and friendly. Opening up her home to someone and giving her dry clothes? You should have told Liz to leave your house instead of forcing your girlfriend to give her belongings to someone who was disrespectful towards her in her own home. You are the idiot. Liz sounds like a terrible person. For someone who is so smart, she needs to make better choices instead of getting wasted, kicked out of clubs, and then calling her classmate for help. You agreed to help this girl, and she was just mean and rude for no reason. She didn't want to wear something cheap to sleep in? What does that even mean? Your girlfriend is right, and you should stop letting Liz act this way. Next time, let her wait for an Uber. My wife and I met in Boulder for school. Housing costs are crazy. Actually being able to afford to buy is out of the question for us for a bit. But we are renting a pretty nice place and are happy for now. We spend the week working jobs we don't hate, then go hiking, biking, skiing, and camping. Mother-in-law hates that my wife moved out here and hates it even more that nothing she says or does convinces us to move back to be closer to family. To be blunt, there is nothing that could convince me to move to a place like Ohio and leave everything worth living for behind just to be near family. Last week it came to a head when we were on Zoom. I said that we were going on a snowshoe adventure in the mountains and stay in a friend's cabin for a few nights. I've been looking forward to it for weeks. She said, well, I wanted to let you guys know. There's a house up for sale nearby that I think you'd really like. She rambled on and on about all the features of the house, including its great location, and mentioned how they would even help us with the down payment. At this point, I was just fed up because nothing can get through to this woman. I said, Marlene, there is nothing you can do or say that would ever get us to move to Ohio. You need to get the fantasy out of your head. It's never going to happen. She said I was being rude and she was just trying to help us, and repeated that they would even help us with the down payment and it would help us settle down finally and be closer to family. I told her that was manipulative and joked that if they want us to be closer so badly, why don't they move out here? And just stepped away to let my wife wrap up the call. 10 minutes later, my wife came by and was laughing and said that her mom is angry because what's wrong with Ohio? I raised you here and now you're too good for it? Before I get told I'm pretentious or whatever, I'm sure that Ohio is perfectly fine for the people who live there, but why would we want to trade our lifestyle and everything we love? Why own a house in a place we don't want to be? We both had a laugh about it, but mother-in-law wouldn't let it go and insisted on sharing with everyone how awful and mean her son-in-law is because we won't move to Ohio. People were laying on the guilt trip, saying how they'd be so heartbroken if their kids left and they'd feel like failures. A lot of what's wrong with Ohio and things like that. And of course, a lot of talk of kids these days want to live in the big city and have it all, and then complain that they can't afford to buy a house. I chimed in with, "The offer still stands. If you want to be closer to family, you can always move here." I got angry reacts and told I was being an idiot. Was I? Not the idiot. That's not help. That's constant blatant pressure. She's the rude one for not respecting boundaries after you clearly told her no. Also, gotta love how much people play the victim card by letting everybody who will listen know how they did nothing wrong and it was uncalled for. She pushed it too far to the point that she had to be shut down, which is exactly what you did. That's her issue, not yours. Not the idiot. She needed to hear it bluntly. However, despite your disclaimer, the fact that you said a place like Ohio and leave everything worth living for behind does suggest that you have a disdain that probably comes through in conversations. I would recommend listening for that in your tone. I say this as unrelated to your mother-in-law's obnoxious behavior and just unsolicited advice that you can take or leave. Unpopular opinion apparently, everyone's the idiot here. Mother-in-law is definitely being unreasonable, but it doesn't seem like it bothers your wife when she bugs you guys about this and you're on the same page as the person who matters. Mother-in-law talking crap about you is totally unacceptable. She loves her daughter, you, and the future family you may have. Of course she wants to be closer, and probably always thought that's how her daughter would settle down. Blowing up at her was probably really embarrassing for her too. Cut her some slack. Everyone's the idiot here. Obviously, you have no obligation to move anywhere you don't want to, but this story reeks of divisive elitism. Your phrasing in both the writing of this post and in your dialogue with your family makes you sound full of contempt for people who live other lifestyles or who have different priorities. Instead of remarks like, "I'm sure Ohio is fine for people who like it," maybe just stick to a party line of, "We don't think that would be a good fit for us. We're happy where we are," or something similar. My 19 female, friend 18 female, and I went to a frat party over the weekend. The party was in a packed basement, and toward the end of the night, we went upstairs to get some air. There were barely any people upstairs, except this one frat guy sitting on a couch alone in the corner. We walked into the room, and he said hi and started chatting with us. He was cute, and my friend was flirting with him a lot. He apologized for sitting down, we were standing, and said his knee was hurting. I asked why, thinking it was mundane, and he was like, "Oh, I got hit by a car. I'm fine though." This freaked me out a little, but I figured he meant like a week ago, so I asked when he got hit. He was like, "Oh, about an hour ago. I was riding my bike back to the frat in the pouring rain, and some guy didn't see me and hit me with his car. But I got up and walked my bike here, because it was my turn to set out all the drinks tonight." I admit I might have been acting irrationally, because my little brother got hit by a car this summer. He's all right, and I was thinking of him. I told the guy he should go to the hospital to get looked at. He was like, "It won't hurt that bad in the morning. It is what it is." I tried to get him to go to the hospital for several minutes, while my friend tried to flirt with him. He eventually decided to go to the University Health Services and left the party after I tried to convince him. My friend got angry with me because she said he was clearly fine and it wasn't a big deal, and my irrationality ruined her chance with a cute guy. She said I bullied him into seeking medical attention. Am I the idiot for being paranoid about injuries? Major, not the idiot. This dude was literally hit by a car, and your friend is more interested in flirting with him than seeking medical attention? Your friend is also not very smart. She should have offered to go with him, to help. Lean on her. Keep him company while waiting. Can we just appreciate that this guy got hit by a car and his priority was to put drinks out for people? You are not the idiot, OP. He needed to get checked out to make sure there was nothing more severe. Sore knees are one thing, but he'll be lucky if that's his only injury. Your friend was an idiot for hitting on someone when he needed medical attention. The adrenaline from something like that will have kept him somewhat not feeling it as much. But adrenaline is supposed to last until you're out of danger or getting it looked at. If you check in later on, I hope the guy's okay. He probably wasn't bothered because he was in shock. That's a pretty traumatic thing to have just happened to him, and he probably wasn't fully processing it. And if he had any alcohol in him by the time you saw him, he might not have felt as bad physically. So I'm glad you urged him to get checked out. Your friend trying to get it in with an injured person is a pretty big red flag. Talk about priorities. I, 27 female, think I could be an affair baby or was switched at birth. I honestly don't know if it is just something I imagined or if it could be true. My suspicion is based solely on me being different from my family. My dad, 62 male, is a black man, and my mom, 59 female, is a blonde white woman. I have 2 siblings, a 33 male and a 23 female, but I don't look anything like them or my dad. My brother and sister are both brown and have similar facial structure that look just like my dad. While I am super white and have a round face, they have the same curly hair, while mine is straight. They're both athletic. My dad is super skinny, while I'm on the chubby side. I am taller than my mom and my dad, while my sister is super short. In general, it's already a joke that I'm the odd one out, physically, and my personality is different from my family. I think I could be an affair baby, only because my mom also has a round face, but that is as far as the similarity goes. At the same time, I don't think she cheated on my dad. That is why I think I could have been switched at birth. LOL. Like I once went to the mall with my dad and the saleswoman thought I was his girlfriend because I look nothing like him. I was talking to my sister and she said she would take the DNA test with me because every time I ask my mom if she has anything to tell me, she gets super offended at the idea that she cheated on my dad. I don't want to upset her or my dad, but at this point, this is really bugging me. So would I be the idiot if I took a secret DNA test with my sister? Only because I don't look like my family. Edit. My parents are divorced. My dad cheated on my mom for years. This started long before I was conceived. Pretty much he cheated on her their entire marriage. She gets offended because it is something he did throughout their marriage. You are the idiot. Your mom gets super offended when you suggest that she cheated on your dad? Gee, I wonder why. If you had a kid that came up to you suggesting you cheated on their dad, wouldn't you get offended as well? There are plenty of mixed families out there. DNA works in odd ways. One sibling can look white while the next is dark. It doesn't mean that one is an affair baby while the other is not. Take the test if you really want to. However, as it is now, all is fine except in your own head. Are you prepared for what might come if worse came to worst and said test did prove dad wasn't your dad? Not the idiot, but things could get dicey. I would make sure your family knows that they're your family based on the switched at birth thing, regardless of the results. But if your mom did indeed cheat on your dad, be ready for the fallout. Also, keep in mind that genetics can get weird, and it is entirely possible that you are actually both of their child. Ultimately, as long as you're not stealing anyone's DNA to do it, you're good. Not the idiot, only natural to wonder. Having been in a similar situation, I would highly encourage to seek counseling ahead of the test. Not knowing the family dynamic or scars that exist from any trauma, the truth, whatever it may be, may open up some wounds or cause issues within yourself. It's best to go down that path with a solid support group and a counselor to help through with those issues.